October of 2021, I had the opportunity to fly to New York and work with one of my mentors and close friends, Steve. We had been hired by a client to set up and record an interview with a doctor who was being asked questions via Zoom. 2021, the year of Zoom. Steve has always been someone I look up to and has never been afraid to give advice or feedback when needed. While setting up for the interview, we decided to take the opportunity and do a walkthrough of our setup and what goes into staging, recording, and lighting an interview. Apologies for the low quality of video and sound. We decided to film this last minute after a very, very long night of setup. So please sit back and enjoy learning from Steve on how to set up an interview in a New York City hotel room.
Guys, I wanted to walk you through a interview that we're doing today. We are in New York City on the Upper East Side in one of the hotels. First thing we usually want to do is make sure where all the lights are and really just deciding what the shot is going to be. So we pretty much just saw one choice, which is this is the best depth, this is the best angle, so we decided to set up here. First thing we did is move a bunch of shit around. We wanted to make space for all our stuff, so we pushed that into the other room. The first thing we decided that the key light was going to be on this side here, and so we had to make space and move a bunch of stuff around. One of the things I just encourage is that do not accept what the room is or the situation is. We put our key light here in the corner. We're using a 1x1 flex bicolor. Probably not the one I would always go to, but because we're on a location, we had to travel with a bunch of gear. The flex lights are amazing to just travel with. They're light, they can pack really well. Shooting through 2 layers of diffusion. We got some C47s holding the second layer of diffusion. Camera A, we've got the red Komodo with a 24mm zoom, and we've got the Polar Pro VND on it, which is probably one of my favorite matte boxes in VND solutions. For our B cam, we have the Red Raven with a 50mm zoom. Because we have a virtual interview set up here, we've got it piping through zoom. So how do we actually do that? Out of the Komodo SDI, into the Komodo, into a small HD Cine 7-inch monitor, and then we're looping out of that SDI, and that is going into, it's an Aja UTAP. So this little converter box gives us SDI in, and then it's USB out, which goes into our MacBook Pro here. And then when we set up the zoom, we're able to select the UTAP, which is essentially a crazy webcam in this case. Overhead here, we've got the Sennheiser M66, excuse me, and that one is piping into our Zoom recorder. We have a Zoom F8, so that's going into our Zoom. And then what we're doing here is we want to make sure that the client can actually hear the audio that we're going to be recording separately, dual system. And so we're coming out of the Zoom mini USB, and we're going into the MacBook Pro as a USB as well. Wanted to also lift the room a little bit. It's kind of a cloudy day today in New York. So we're using a 2x2 Westcott. That's just adding room tone, lifting up the levels of the room. Because we have a mirror here, we had to kind of black this out so we don't get any return. So I always travel with garbage bags. I know it's kind of like the grunt style of doing it, but we just put some gaff tape on here, so eliminate some of that return on there. And then we also wanted to make sure we have some neg. Then you get into the whole art directing thing. I never want to rely on the bulbs that are in the rooms. So we have 2 aperture bulbs here. We have one in this here little desk lamp, and then we also put one in this back lamp as just a little bit of texture and all that. So we've got another aperture bulb there. I think they're both set to 3200 with different intensities. We wanted to put a little art direction into this piece. So ironically enough, we looked around the room, we found a couple of garbage bins. Obviously every hotel has a garbage bin and stuff. We made our own little project here. And one of the ones, trash cans, was a clear trash can. So we put an MC in there, and we actually added a little bit of color to this just because, again, it's kind of like a little art piece that we wanted to create. We couldn't find any flowers or anything like that to design it. And because the client's logo brand colors are kind of bluish, like a rich blue, we decided to put that into this little thing. And of course, because we're so shallow in our shot, you can't even tell what this is. So I think that works out really well. And then in this room, like I said, getting creative with what we're doing. We got Danny, who's also behind the scenes. He's our AC, grip, swing, camera, all of the above. Couldn't do all this without him. So we found this cool little coffee table and we thought, wouldn't it be cool to use this as a makeshift cookie? So over here, we've got a Felix, can't remember exactly what this is, but it's a P360, I think it's a P360 or something like that, I can't remember. I've had it for a while. And so we are shooting this through this makeshift cookie interesting bench, which is cool, is just adding a little bit of texture on this back wall here. Might be hard to see in here, but you can definitely see that it's breaking up some of that light, which is, you know, just for visual interest. Oh, one more thing. Because we are doing a virtual interview, we're piping in the client via Zoom. Wanted to make sure that the eye line was going to match so that when our interviewee is kind of interacting with our interviewer virtually, we can sit here and the eye line is going to be like if the person would be here. So again, we didn't have a lot of stuff here, so we just used one of our Pelicans just to prop up the computer. That way we can have that eye line, and yeah. So we are, again, we use a couple of different things. Like I said, we do travel with a lot of flags or anything like that, but I always travel with some of these cloths. So I have a solid here because we were kind of trying to control a little bit of that light. We decided to just add a little bit of that solid here just to control more of the light at the key light. And then after a while, we saw that we were getting some spill on this back wall, which was interfering a little bit with our accent light that we have here, and was taking away a little bit from this little like warm fellas here. So we decided, again, not having a lot of stuff, being resourceful, we just took the cover of the zip disc that we had here, and we just kind of put some C47s on there, and yeah. So that is our setup. Am I missing anything?
You covered it all.
Okay, and so again, could not do all of this without Danny Reyes, who is doing all of this out of the kindness of his heart. And yeah, so I wanted to rip these off the wall and do something with them, but he said no. And there were some flowers that were in the lobby with cameras everywhere. And I wanted to take one, but he refused to let me, he told me not to do it. So I was going too far. But anyway, just hopefully that's a kind of breakdown for you guys to really take that opportunity to just assess, look at what you have, beg, borrow, and steal, make things happen, and don't compromise on your images, especially when you are trying to like up your game. So hopefully, I hope that was helpful and thorough enough that you guys can go out there and create better images.